Every morning, when the first light touched the golden sand of the desert, Sam waited by his small porch. His house stood alone at the edge of the dusty town, where few people lived and fewer still cared to visit. But every morning, without fail, someone came for him. Not a human, but an alien. Her name was Zira. She was the mail carrier from the Orion Trade Network, a service that connected human colonies and alien worlds. Her job was simple: deliver packages, exchange messages, and fly away. Yet for Sam, her visits had become the best part of his day. Her ship always arrived with a soft humming sound, like a song carried by the wind. The sand swirled in circles around her landing pad, and then she would appear, tall, graceful, and glowing faintly under the morning sun. Her skin shimmered with silver light, almost transparent when the light hit it right. Her eyes were large and bright, always changing color with her mood, cool blue when calm, soft violet when curious, and a rare golden hue when she smiled. Sam never got tired of watching her. There was something peaceful in her presence, something almost gentle despite the strange world she came from. Every time she stepped off her ship, she carried a small mail container and spoke in her sweet, melodic voice. "Human Sam, your package has arrived safely." He would always laugh at the way she said it, her translator giving her words a funny rhythm. Sometimes he offered her a drink of cold water, even though her kind didn't really need water, and she always accepted, more out of politeness than thirst. Over time, they had grown close. Not as lovers, not yet, but as two beings who found comfort in each other's company. They shared stories of their worlds. Sam told her about Earth's oceans, the smell of rain, and the way humans laughed when they were nervous. Zira told him about the twin suns of Orion, the way her people sang through energy waves, and how her race considered emotions a strange but fascinating weakness. He teased her once, saying, "Then you must think we humans are full of weakness." She had smiled softly. "Perhaps, but it is a beautiful weakness." Their friendship grew like a quiet flame, unnoticed by the world, but warm enough to light their small moments together. But lately, something had begun to change. Zira had been acting different. Her usual calm voice carried a faint tremor, as if she was struggling to focus. Her eyes glowed brighter than before, and the colors shifted too quickly, from violet to red to blue again. Even her skin, once smooth and still, now shimmered with tiny patterns that looked like waves of light moving beneath her surface. Sam noticed, of course. He was the kind of man who paid attention. "Zira," he said one morning as she handed him a letter, "are you okay? You look brighter than usual." She blinked twice. A small gesture he had learned meant nervousness. "It is nothing, human Sam. Just a biological phase, temporary." But her eyes didn't match her words. They were glowing deep violet now, the color of something unspoken. After that, she began visiting more often. Sometimes she came twice a day, claiming she had forgotten a delivery document or needed to check the route signature. Sam wasn't sure what to make of it, but he didn't complain. Her presence made the quiet desert feel alive, yet every time she left, the air felt heavier, filled with something electric, something he didn't understand. One night, as Sam sat under the stars, he thought about her again, about her strange voice, her bright eyes, and how his heart seemed to beat faster when she looked at him for too long. He told himself it was nothing, just curiosity, maybe friendship. But deep inside, he knew something was changing. Not just in her, but in him too. What he didn't know was that Zira's species followed ancient biological rhythms tied to the twin suns of her homeworld. The season had begun, one that her people called the binding cycle, when emotion, instinct, and desire merged into one overwhelming storm, and without realizing it, she had found herself drawn not to her own kind, but to a human, to him. The next morning, Sam woke to the familiar hum of Zira's ship landing nearby. But this time something was different. The air seemed heavier, almost vibrating with energy. When he stepped onto the porch, he saw her standing by the landing pad, her usual calm posture slightly off balance. Her silver skin shimmered more than usual, sending faint waves of light across her limbs. Even from a distance, he could see the unusual glow in her eyes, violet streaked with red. "Good morning, Sam," she said, her voice a little unsteady. "Zira, you look different," Sam said carefully, trying not to sound worried. He studied her, noting the faint patterns moving beneath her skin. They weren't there yesterday. It is a natural phase, Zira admitted softly. She avoided his gaze for a moment, flicking her eyes toward the desert horizon. Temporary. It will pass, Sam frowned. But you look uncomfortable. Are you sure it's nothing serious? She shook her head quickly. I assure you, it is biological, no danger, no concern for you. Her words were calm, but her voice trembled just slightly. Sam had spent enough time with her to know the difference between her natural tone and this one. Something was wrong, not with her health, but with her emotions. Something intense, wild, and unstoppable. That afternoon, Zira returned again, claiming she forgot a delivery document. Sam knew she was lying. She never forgot anything. But she lingered, standing closer than usual, her glowing hands brushing the edges of the envelope before handing it to him. Her eyes met his for a fraction of a second, and Sam felt something electric pass through him. He wasn't sure if it was warmth, curiosity, or something far more complicated. You seem restless, he said carefully, trying to mask the tension rising in his chest. Zira's lips pressed into a line, her voice softer than before. Your presence, it isn't calming. Yet confusing, Sam blinked. Calming? Confusing. Yes, she admitted, her gaze dropping for a moment. Your warmth, it soothes my condition, but it also excites it. A chill ran down Sam's spine. Excites it? He repeated. Zira's translator clicked lightly, as if struggling to find the right words. The cycle I endure, the binding cycle, it overwhelms all instincts. Normally I would be alone, but your proximity intensifies my sensations. Sam stepped back, feeling both startled and strangely flattered. You mean me? She nodded, her glowing eyes flickering rapidly. Yes, you are. Compatible, and I cannot resist entirely. The words hung in the air between them like sparks ready to ignite. Sam didn't move. He couldn't. He wanted to, but fear and curiosity tangled together. Zira's eyes were filled with vulnerability, a strange emotion for her species which rarely admitted weakness. I don't know what to say, Sam whispered. You need not say anything, Zira said. Just understand. This will pass soon, but until then, I must try to maintain distance or risk chaos. Sam swallowed hard. The desert felt suddenly too quiet, the wind too still. He had always known Zira was different, alien, unearthly, unreachable in many ways. But now for the first time he realized she needed him. Not just as a human friend, but as someone tied to her survival through the storm of instinct raging within her. The day ended with Zira leaving, her ship vanishing into the orange sky. Sam stayed on the porch staring at the fading H. His heart pounded as he thought about her words. Compatible. Cannot resist. He didn't know what that meant fully, but he knew one thing, their relationship had just changed. Something was stirring between them. Something more than friendship. Something that neither of them could control completely. And for the first time, Sam realized that caring for an alien could mean caring for a force of nature, unpredictable, wild and dangerously beautiful. He closed his eyes, letting the desert wind brush his face. Somewhere in the vast sky, Zira was going through her cycle, and he had no idea how to help her. All he knew was that he wanted to, because even if she was an alien, even if the rules of her world were different, Sam could feel one truth echoing deep inside him. He didn't want her to face this storm alone. The next few days were like walking through fire for Sam. Every time Zira arrived, the air between them thickened, charged with something he couldn't name. She moved with the same grace, delivered his mail with precision, and yet, something invisible tugged at the space around them, making his heart pound and his hands clench. One morning, Zira appeared with her usual bright glow, but there was a tremor in her steps. Sam noticed the subtle quiver of her limbs, the way her hands shook slightly as she handed him the envelope. Her eyes, usually shifting in calm blues and purples, now flared crimson for moments too long to be ignored. Zira, are you feeling all right? Sam asked, his voice steady despite the tension in his chest. She paused and let out a soft sigh. I am struggling, human Sam, my instincts. They fight my reason. Every time I see you, it becomes more difficult to maintain control. Sam's stomach twisted. He knew what she meant, even if he didn't fully understand the biology of her species. Her kind was not human. Emotions and instincts were a storm in them, more violent than anything he had ever felt or imagined. And now somehow he was caught in the middle of it. I don't want to make things worse, Sam said quietly. He didn't move closer, but he couldn't look away from her. Her eyes held a mix of fear, longing, and confusion. All emotions Sam could read like a book he had never opened before. You cannot help it, Zira said softly, almost whispering. Her glowing hands trembled as she adjusted the small mail container she carried. It is my nature. My cycle calls for interaction, but the presence of a compatible being, you, makes it unpredictable. Dangerous. Sam swallowed hard. Dangerous? Yes, she admitted, her crimson glow dimming slightly, replaced by flickers of violet. The binding cycle is meant to be experienced among my own kind. Your warmth, your emotions, they amplify it. It is not weakness, human Sam. It is biology. He ran a hand through his hair, unsure of what to say. Then should I stay away? He asked. The words felt wrong in his mouth, but he couldn't risk making her discomfort worse. Zira's gaze softened for the briefest moment. I cannot ask you to leave, nor can I leave you. She shook her head gently, the silvery waves of her skin flickering with uncertainty. My duty binds me to this route, but my instincts rebel. I must maintain focus, or I could lose myself entirely. The tension was unbearable. Sam could feel it, the weight of her presence pressing down on him like the heat of a distant sun. Her species experienced emotion in waves so intense, he could see it reflected in the flicker of her skin, the trembling of her hands, the depth of her gaze. She wanted to be near him, yet feared it with every particle of her being, and yet, despite the warning, Sam felt drawn to her. It was impossible not to be. There was something beautiful about the storm inside her, a fire of life, a force of nature wrapped in silver skin and glowing eyes. Zira, he said quietly, stepping a fraction closer, I don't know what your cycle feels like or what it will do to you, but you don't have to face it alone. Her breath hitched. Her crimson glow flared dangerously, then receded. She shook her head, unsure, trembling. It is not safe. For either of us. Yet your presence comforts me, yet it excites me. I am torn. Sam reached out just enough to let his hand hover near hers. Then let me stay here. Not to disturb you, but to help you. She looked at him, eyes wide, glowing in colors he had never imagined. For a long moment, neither moved. The desert wind whispered around them, carrying dust and quiet tension. Finally, Zira spoke, her voice almost a whisper. You are brave. Or foolish. Perhaps both, but thank you, human Sam. He smiled faintly, though his heart raced uncontrollably. I'll take either, he said. As she lifted her ship and left for the day, Sam stood on the porch, the emptiness of her absence pressing down. He understood now. This cycle was bigger than any human emotion he had ever felt. Yet somehow, in the chaos of her alien biology, he wanted to be a part of it. He wanted to help her survive it, and deep down he realized that he was already caught in her storm, whether he liked it or not. The next delivery came during a sandstorm, a rare event in the desert. Sam had been worried all morning, glancing at the sky as the wind kicked up dust and the horizon disappeared into swirling gold. He never imagined she would show up in such a storm. But Zira did. Her small ship descended through the haze, the silver glow of her body cutting through the golden chaos like a beacon. When she stepped out, the wind threw her hair and shimmering skin in waves, and Sam could see immediately that she was struggling. Her usual grace seemed fragile, faltering under the storm, and perhaps something else, and something deeper. Zira, he called, running toward her. You could have waited. The storm... I cannot, she said, her voice barely above the roar of the wind. Her eyes burned a deep crimson, glowing like molten metal. My cycle, it burns. I could not delay, not even for safety. Sam grabbed her arm to steady her, feeling the heat radiating from her in pulses he couldn't describe. It wasn't warmth like the sun or a fire. It was alive, instinctive, almost overwhelming. He realized then just how extreme her mating season had become. It wasn't subtle. It was all-consuming, and he was caught right in its center. Her hands trembled as she handed him the envelope. But this time she didn't pull away. She seemed unable to. Her gaze locked on his, wide and full of confusion, longing and fear. Sam's heart pounded. He didn't know what to do or if he should do anything at all, but he couldn't ignore her. Zira, I'm here, he said, his voice calm even though his chest burned with adrenaline. You're not alone. She exhaled sharply, the wind whipping her hair across her face. Your presence, it strengthens me, yet it also makes control impossible. Her glowing eyes softened briefly to violet before flashing crimson again. I cannot stop feeling. Not near you. Sam felt a rush of empathy he couldn't contain. He took her hand gently, letting her lean on him for support. Then let me help, he whispered. Not as a duty, not as a human trying to be clever. Just as someone who cares. For a moment, Zira faltered. Her chest heaved as her breathing quickened, and the waves of light under her skin flickered like fire. The desert wind roared around them, but in that small space, everything else faded. She was raw and vulnerable, something he had never seen in her before. You would risk it? She asked, her voice trembling. To stay close, knowing it may worsen the storm? I would, Sam said firmly. I don't care about danger. I care about you. Her lips parted slightly, and a soft glow spread over her hands and face, flickering between silver and violet. Human, Sam. My species considers such feelings. Dangerous, yet being near you, it is the only thing that feels right. Sam squeezed her hand. Then we'll face it together. For 2 hours, he stayed by her side, holding her as the storm raged. Zira's breathing gradually slowed, the crimson light in her eyes fading to violet, then to calm blue. The waves of energy under her skin softened. The storm outside didn't matter anymore. The tempest inside her was settling, and it was because of him. When the wind finally died down, she leaned against the wall of Sam's small house, exhausted but alive. She gave him a small, almost shy smile. Your warmth, your patience, has eased my cycle in ways I never thought possible. You are extraordinary, human Sam. Sam smiled back, his chest still tight with emotion. You're amazing, Zira, and I'll help you whenever you need it. For the first time, Zira allowed herself to rest completely in his presence. The glow of her skin dimmed to a soft silver, the intense crimson of the cycle replaced by calm, and Sam realized something profound. Even the most powerful alien instincts could be soothed by human compassion, human courage, and human warmth. She looked at him, her violet eyes soft. Perhaps humans are stronger than I imagined, not in strength of body, but in strength of heart. Sam laughed quietly. I think you're the one who's learning that lesson. That night, as Zira prepared to leave, the stars shone brighter than usual. The desert was silent, peaceful, and full of possibility. Sam watched her ship ascend into the dark sky, knowing this cycle would pass, but also knowing that something had changed between them, something neither of them could ignore. Even across the stars, he could feel her presence. And for the first time, Sam realized that caring for Zira wasn't just about mail delivery anymore. It was about connection, understanding, and the strange, beautiful chaos of love that transcended worlds. The days after the storm were quiet, but the tension between Sam and Zira had not vanished. Instead, it had softened into something fragile yet persistent, a gentle pull neither could ignore. Zira continued her deliveries, but she lingered longer than usual. Each time she stepped into Sam's small desert home, the air felt electric, as if the universe itself was aware of the strange bond forming between them. Sam noticed everything. The way her hands brushed against the mail container slightly longer than necessary, the soft shimmer of her skin when she laughed, the brief moments when her eyes flickered crimson before settling into calm violet. She was recovering from her binding cycle, but its residue lingered, like embers glowing long after a fire has died. One evening, as the sun sank behind the dunes, Sam found her seated on the porch steps watching the sky. She looked tired, her silver glow dim, but her eyes held a softness he had never seen before. You seem different today, Sam said gently, sitting beside her. Zira tilted her head, her gaze following the orange streaks across the horizon. I feel different, calmer, but aware of emotions I cannot fully control. She paused, then added softly, Your presence helped me endure the cycle. More than you realize, Sam's heart thumped. I'm glad I could help. You didn't have to face it alone. She looked at him, eyes wide and shimmering. No, Sam. I did not, and yet I discovered something unexpected. Even when my instincts were wild, even when my body screamed for separation and freedom, your warmth anchored me. He swallowed, unable to speak for a moment. Zira's words carried weight, not just for him but for her species. Her kind rarely admitted vulnerability. rarely relied on anyone outside their own. Yet here she was, telling him he had mattered to her more than she had thought possible. "You think humans are strong?" she asked quietly, almost hesitant. "I do," Sam replied, his voice firm. "Strong in ways you can't measure. Strong in heart, strong in kindness, strong in ways your species might not understand yet." Her lips curved into a small smile, glowing faintly under the twilight. "Perhaps your species has something rare, something we overlook while chasing perfection." She looked down at her hands, tracing the faint patterns of silver that remained after the cycle. I feel it now. Because of you. Even when I am calm, I feel more than I have ever felt before." Sam reached out, brushing a fingertip across her hand. The warmth of her skin hummed softly against his. "Then let me stay here with you, Zira. Not as a duty, not as a friend, but just to be near you, if that's allowed." Her eyes widened slightly, a violet glow deepening with a flush of color he had only seen during the storm. "You would risk being near me again? After all that? All the chaos of the cycle?" He nodded without hesitation. "I don't care about chaos. I care about you." For a long moment they just sat in silence, the desert wind whispering around them, carrying the scent of sand and distant heat. Zyra's glowing eyes flickered between violet and soft silver as she absorbed his words, as if weighing the truth of them against her alien instincts. Finally, she leaned slightly closer, resting her hand lightly over his. "Human Sam, my species fears surrendering to emotion. We guard our hearts fiercely, but I feel yours and I trust it. And perhaps for the first time, I am willing to surrender." Sam's chest tightened with emotion. "You don't have to surrender completely," he said gently. "Just let me be here beside you. That's enough." A soft breeze blew over them, carrying the last light of the setting sun across the dunes. In that quiet moment, the bond between them solidified, not through instinct alone, but through choice, trust, and a shared courage that neither had expected. Zira's silver glow dimmed to a calm, steady shimmer, and she looked at him with a mixture of relief and affection. "Perhaps humans are stronger than I imagined. Not because of our bodies, not because of power, but because of the heart. And yours is extraordinary, Sam." He smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the sun or the desert. "And yours, Zira, is one I'll never forget." For the first time since the cycle began, the desert felt peaceful. The storm had passed, but something far more beautiful had taken its place. The quiet certainty that two hearts, human and alien, could beat in rhythm across the stars. Days passed, and the desert sun rose and fell like a steady heartbeat. Zira's visits became more routine, her glowing silver skin calm and peaceful again. The wild crimson flashes of the binding cycle were gone, leaving only traces of faint light beneath her surface, like the last embers of a fire long burned. Sam noticed the change immediately. She moved with her usual grace, but there was a softness now, a quiet comfort that hadn't been there before. Every gesture she made seemed thoughtful, measured, as though she was learning to navigate her emotions without fear. And yet there was something new in her eyes, a flicker of something that had grown during the storm, something human. "You seem more yourself," Sam said one morning, handing her the usual stack of envelopes. He tried to sound casual, but his voice carried a weight of concern and something deeper. Zira smiled faintly, a soft shimmer dancing along her skin. "I am recovering. The cycle is ending. But your presence has changed me, permanently." Sam felt a rush in his chest. He wasn't sure if it was excitement, fear, or joy. "Changed you? In what way?" he asked, trying to keep his tone light. But his eyes searched hers for the answer. She hesitated, glancing at the horizon where the desert met the endless sky. "In ways I cannot fully explain. My instincts, they have been soothed. My heart, it feels something new, something stronger than duty, stronger than instinct, something human." Sam's throat tightened. He had always known that her species saw emotions as dangerous, unpredictable forces. Yet here she was, admitting that human compassion, human warmth, and simple trust had reshaped her perception of connection. "I don't know if I understand it fully," she continued softly, "but I know this: I wish to remain near you. Even now, when the cycle is over. Even when my species would advise distance. I choose to stay." Sam's heart swelled. He wanted to reach out, to touch her hand, to let her know that the feeling was mutual. But he waited, letting her make the first move. She leaned slightly forward, the silver glow of her skin reflecting the morning sun, and touched his hand lightly. The gesture simple, but full of meaning. "You trust me?" he asked, his voice almost a whisper. "I do," Zira replied, her violet eyes meeting his with a depth that left him breathless. "Your presence, your heart. It proved to me that feelings are not weakness. They are strength. Something my species rarely understands." Sam smiled, finally letting himself relax into the moment. "Then let's face the future together. Not just during the storm, but always." Zira's lips curved into a small, genuine smile, and she let out a soft sigh of relief. "I would like that. Human Sam, I would like that very much." The quiet bond between them solidified like a stone in the river of time. For the first time since the cycle began, there was no tension, no fear, no overwhelming chaos. There was only understanding, trust, and a shared acknowledgement that their connection had grown into something extraordinary. As Sam watched Zira prepare to leave, she paused by her ship, turning back to him. Her silver glow shimmered brighter than usual, a final flash of beauty and warmth before she ascended. "I will return," she said softly. "Not because the cycle demands it, but because I wish to." Sam nodded, feeling a profound joy he could hardly put into words. "I'll be waiting." She smiled once more, a mixture of relief, affection, and quiet pride in her gaze. Then her ship lifted gracefully into the sky, leaving behind a faint trail of silver light that lingered like a promise. That night, Sam stood on his porch, staring at the stars that stretched endlessly above. He realized that Zira's cycle, intense and frightening as it had been, had revealed something far greater: the strength of compassion, the power of trust, and the undeniable truth that even beings from distant worlds could feel connection and love. Somewhere beyond the horizon, Zira traveled back to her route, but the bond they had forged remained unbroken. And for the first time, Sam understood that hearts, human or alien, could beat together across the stars, stronger than any storm, brighter than any sun. In the quiet desert, under the vast sky, he whispered softly, almost to himself, "Perhaps love isn't limited to one species, or one world. Perhaps it's the thing that connects all of us." And for the first time in a long while, Sam felt at peace. Weeks had passed since the storm, and the desert settled into its usual rhythm. Sam continued his quiet life, waiting for the soft hum of Zira's ship each morning. But now there was a new anticipation, a quiet hope that something had changed between them, something permanent. One morning, as he stepped onto his porch, he noticed a small metallic envelope lying in the sand, glowing faintly blue. There was no return address, but the design of the envelope was unmistakable. His heart leapt. He picked it up carefully and opened it. Inside was a crystal disc, small and radiant, humming faintly with energy. He activated it, and Zira's melodic voice filled the air, crystal clear yet soft. "Human Sam, my cycle has ended, but my thoughts of you have not. I have requested reassignment to Earth Sector permanently. If your warmth allows, I wish to stay. Not just for duty, but because being near you feels right. Because you showed me what trust, patience, and compassion truly mean. I want to be here." Sam's hand shook slightly as he listened. His chest felt like it might burst with emotion. He had spent weeks wondering if the bond they shared would survive the natural chaos of her species' biology. And now she was choosing him. Not out of instinct, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. He pressed the crystal disc to his chest, imagining her voice wrapping around him like a gentle breeze. "You'll always have a place here, Zira," he whispered. "Always." And then he heard the soft hum of a ship descending. He looked up to see her small craft hovering just above the desert. The sun caught her silver skin as she stepped down, and her eyes, glowing faintly blue, scanned the landscape until they rested on him. "Sam," she said softly, her voice carrying warmth that felt almost tangible. "I have come, as promised." He ran toward her, laughter and relief blending in his chest. "Welcome back, Zira." She tilted her head, her glowing hands brushing against his shoulders lightly, a gentle but intimate gesture. "I have chosen to stay. Not as a visitor, not as a duty, but as something else. Someone who wants to be with you." Sam felt tears prick his eyes. "I don't care about anything else, just stay." "That's enough." Zira smiled, her silver skin shimmering softly, reflecting the fading sunlight like scattered stardust. Then I will stay. Over the next weeks, she settled into life on Earth, her presence a strange but comforting miracle. She learned the rhythm of human days, the taste of coffee in the morning, the feeling of a soft breeze on her skin, the quiet laughter of human friends Sam introduced her to. And with every moment, their bond deepened, not as a fleeting instinct, but as a choice, a connection forged in trust and shared experience. One evening, Sam and Zaira sat on the porch together, watching the stars stretch endlessly above the desert. She rested her head lightly on his shoulder, the silver glow of her skin blending with the soft light of the moon. "You know," Zaira whispered, "I once thought my species' cycles were all-consuming, impossible to control. I feared them, until I met you. You showed me that even instincts as wild as mine can be guided by care, patience, and understanding." Sam smiled, brushing a hand gently across her shimmering hair. "I think you taught me something too, Zaira, that even in the vastness of space, in the chaos of biology or duty, connection, love, it can happen anywhere, between any beings, and it can survive." Her eyes shone faintly, violet and silver merging into a steady glow. "Then we are proof," she said softly. "Proof that hearts, human or alien, can meet and beat together." The desert was quiet, the night warm and still. Above them, the stars stretched like scattered diamonds across the sky. Below, two beings from entirely different worlds sat together, connected not by duty, not by instinct, but by choice, by trust, compassion, and the extraordinary courage to care for each other. Sam leaned back, watching the sky, and whispered, "Perhaps love truly isn't bound by species or worlds. Perhaps it's the thing that binds all of us, no matter how far apart we seem." Zaira shifted closer, her soft glow resting against him like a promise. "Then let us face all the stars, together." And under the endless desert sky, with the universe stretching infinitely above, they did.